The tank engine, for its size, is the most versatile thing on rails. And the tender engines are responsible for all the passengers and heavy goods that arrive on the island of Sodor. This is NWR Stories.
Second chance. On the island of Sodor, the engines do their best to work hard so they can make the Fat Controller proud. Whether it's pulling coaches or pulling freight, the engines do their best to work hard. Even though sometimes there are spills and accidents, the engines still do their best to make sure it gets cleaned up and work resumes as always. It was a bright and early morning on the island of Sodor, and all the engines were preparing to start their days at work. "I hope Rosie has my coaches together," said Gordon. "'Cause yesterday I was late to Barrow and Furness." "Come on now, Gordon. It is 2022 and you still need an engine to get your coaches for you. Learn how to shunt like the rest of us." "How many times must I tell you, little Edward? Tender engines do not shunt." "I just can't wait for people to see my lovely red paint as I travel down the line with my local train," said James proudly. "Just try not to have another accident, James," said Percy teasily. "All right, enough, lads. Here comes the Fat Controller." And as he said, the Fat Controller pulled right up to the sheds. "Good morning, engines." "Good morning, sir," said all the engines in unison. "Now, I have been pleased with your work lately, and I am good that you guys are still proving to be very useful engines, but you do need help. That is why I have scheduled for an engine to come to the railway to help us out. He is on trial, but I think he will be very useful to us." "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of engine is it?" asked Henry. "It is a British Railways Class 40. He actually visited this railway years ago, back in the 60s to be exact." The engines all looked at each other. Back in the 60s, there were a bunch of engines that arrived into the island. Most of them were diesels, and not all the diesels were friendly. "Sir," said Thomas, "what engine is coming to the railway?" "I think his number is D261? The engines gasped. James rolled out of his shed. "You mean that same diesel that came here when Daisy was ill and when Stepney had arrived on the island?" "Yes, the very same. Now, make sure that he does his work, and also you give him a warm welcome, because he might not be the same diesel he was all those years ago. Now, I am trusting you to do the right thing." And with that, the Fat Controller walked away. Soon as the Fat Controller left, Gordon puffed out of the shed, grumbling, "You know, I know the fat controllers say give him a warm welcome, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And Gordon puffed away to go collect his coaches. Rosie, the U.S. dock tank, was shunting Gordon's coaches to the platform so that he can take the express from Knapford to Barrow and Furness. She was resting in the siding and waiting for Gordon to come collect the coaches when a big green diesel pulled up beside her.
Hello, is this Knapford?
Why, yes it is, said Rosie.
Actually, I'm the station pilot for Knapford. Oh, good. Well, I am D261 and I'm here to help out.
Huh, I've heard that name before. Are you a diesel that visited in the 1960s?
Yes, but I don't understand if you heard some things that I was a very rude diesel, which I was, and I feel terribly bad for what I did back in the 60s.
Well, that's good you have a personality change. Anybody who realizes their faults is a good friend for me.
Thank you, said the green diesel.
Unbeknownst to Rosie and D261, Gordon had puffed into the station and backed onto the express. He noticed Class 40 talking to Rosie in the siding. Oil-filled cucumber, said Gordon. He blew his whistle and puffed away with the express. I say, I have never seen him that rude before. Are you okay?
Yes, I am fine.
I guess I can say I deserve it from how I treated them back in the 1960s. But thank you for talking to me. But I need to start my work. Nice meeting you, Rosie. With a toot of his horn, the diesel sadly rolled away. One of D261's first jobs was to collect a slow goods train. He gently buffled up to the trucks, careful not to bump them. Oh well, this is a good way to start the day, said D261 cheerfully. But just then, he heard two whistles. On the line next to him, Donald and Douglas had pulled up alongside of him. Well, what do we have here, doggy? Said Donald. I don't know, Donny. Let's see. Looks like it's a diesel. As a matter of fact, a diesel that got a bowler hat stuck in his air intake. D261 ignored the comment and bravely spoke. Hello, Donald. Hello, Douglas. I just want to apologize for my behavior years ago. I was a foolish engine to think that I should have been like that towards you. I hope we could be friends or acquaintances. Donald and Douglas were speechless. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do next. But the shocking thing happened. Well, we accept your apology, and we're sorry for that comment we made. If you are a change engine, then we owe you the right to show that. Right, Dooney? Aye, Doogie. Well, welcome back to Sodor, D261. Hopefully, you stay here longer. And with that, the twins puffed away. D261 smiled. He was glad that somebody accepted his apology, and with a cheerful toot of his horn, he rolled away with his goods train. Throughout the day, D261 proudly carried on with his jobs. He was also had a new perspective on the island now. He saw the beauty in it. And whenever he saw some of the other engines, he would talk to them. He would apologize, and the other engines would accept, which made D261 happy. That night, all the engines returned to the sheds after a hard day's work. The engines soon began talking about the events of their day, when suddenly D261 arrived to the sheds, hoping for a late night's rest too.
"What are you doing here?" said Henry. "He might be lost," said James. The nerve of him to think that he can rest here," boomed Gordon.
Hello. I was just wondering, could I rest here for the night? It's been a very long day, and I would just like to, just stay here for the night.
"Yes, we do mind," said Gordon. "Now be off with you. These are Sodor engine sheds only."
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I hope you all have a good night, and I'll just rest in the sidings at Knapford. And the diesel slyly rolled away. Edward, who had witnessed the whole thing, spoke up.
"Gordon, Henry, and James, I am ashamed of all three of you. He should have not been treated that way. Edward, you know that he was rude to us back in the 1960s, so why should we play curtsy to him?" said Gordon. "Because he is a changed engine, and we always give second chances. For example, Diesel is still on the railway after all the troubles he's caused, and he's become a changed character also. Not to mention, most Diesels that have arrived on this railway have turned around their act and learned how to work with us," said Thomas cheerfully. "Well, he is not one of those Diesels," said James. "I agree," said Henry. "It is unbelievable that, after all of these years living on this railway, that you do not get the fact that that engine has turned around his act and is a brand new engine. So, what makes you think that he doesn't have the right to have a second chance?" boomed Edward. "You heard what he said, Edward. Our controller should scrap us and get more engines like him. Those comments were disgraceful, disgusting, despicable." Edward saw that talking to them was falling on deaf ears, and he decided to go to sleep and not give it another argument. The next morning, was brewing. Gordon was running too fast that his driver and fireman had to tell him to slow down, but Gordon didn't listen. Right before he reached the tunnel, it happened. He started to go slower, and the next thing you know, there was a loud pitch. Gordon was not going anywhere. "You silly engine! Your safety valve has broken." "Ah, bother," said Gordon. "Now we were going so good too." "Well, maybe if you weren't going so fast, then this wouldn't have happened." "Oh no, what am I going to do now?" said Gordon. Not far down the line, D261
was traveling with a local train. Right as he reached the tunnel, he saw Gordon marooned on a track, not going anywhere. "Gordon, are you all right?" said D261. Yes, I am fine. I don't need any help from you, of all engines. Get James or Henry to do it." "But James and Henry are busy," said his driver. "Well, I guess I'm stuck here." Not listening to Gordon's protest, his fireman walked up to D261 and said, "Can you please push him to the next station?" "Yes, I can. Hopefully I can handle it." So, slowly but surely, D21 started to push the train to the station. It was hard work, but D261 pushed the train through the tunnel and around the bend. Gordon, who was too proud to admit it, thought the diesel was doing a great job of pushing the train. The weight was heavy. Pushing an engine in 3 heavy coaches was a bit much for the diesel, but D261 did not mind as he pushed the train straight into the station. Finally, he moved the train into the platform where the express was due and brought Gordon to a stop. When Gordon arrived at the station, Edward and Duck were waiting for him. "Oh, hello, Gordon," said Duck. "I wonder what has happened here," said Edward. "My safety valve burst," said Gordon. "And thanks to D261, my train made it." Well done," said Duck. "Indeed," said Edward. "You have proved yourself a Sodor engine," said Edward. D261, too tired, cheerfully honked his horn to the praise he received. Later, when Gordon was resting in the siding, Diesel 261 rolled up alongside of him. Gordon spoke up. "Listen, D261, I want to thank you for helping me reach the station. And me and the other engines are sorry for the way we treated you last night. You are a changed engine, and we owe you the right to let you prove that." "Thank you, Gordon. That means a lot. And I'm sorry for what I said back in the 1960s, because scrapping was not just for steam engines. I realized that us diesels would share the same fate if we did not pull our weight. Most of my brothers and sisters met the scrappers' torch too. That's why there is only few of us remaining now. But I am proud to see most of my brothers and sisters made it into preservation. You're a good diesel. Well, Gordon, I have to go get my next job, but it was good talking to you. Good talking to you as well, D261. We're going to have to find you a name, though. They've been telling me that for years," said the diesel, rolling away. And soon after that, D261 had a very eventful career on the island of Sodor and was made a permanent member of Sir Topham Hatt's fleet of engines. The engine still bugged him for not having a name, so eventually he started to call himself Andy. The origins of the name were unknown, but the name fits him, and to this day, he still has it. The end.